Hello, KansasFest.
Good morning, KansasFest. Welcome to Logo Breakfast Coffee Chat with us and Myrtle the Turtle. Yay, Myrtle.
Yep. So today, this will be a quick one, but what we're going to be talking about specifically is doing accelerated vector graphics games on the Apple II using Apple Logo, also in Emulation. So obviously, like when we think about vector graphics and vector games, Logo makes sense because it is vector-based.
But it's slow.
It uses a lot of math and also being an interpreted language. And of course, as much as we all love the 6502, it isn't the fastest thing to begin with.
No, and it wasn't, but Apple Logo, I mean, it wasn't really designed for speed. It was designed for creating fancy little drawings on the screen, which is fine, and it does a good job of that. But with acceleration through emulation or through hardware, it sort of increases its potential to be useful for games. So maybe let's have a look at the games.
Yep. So we'll start with a simpler one. So this is, and let me see if I can share my screen. Oh.
We need permission for
screen sharing. Can we get screen sharing permission?
Yep. Sorry. You have it now. Thanks.
Cheers. Alrighty, hopefully you can see a very boring looking terminal window. So the first one we'll look at, and this was something that I created for Paleotronic magazine. This is actually a clone of Lunar Lander. So I'm just going to boot up Micromate here. This was a clone of Lunar Lander. So the idea is that we've got like some terrain that we actually kind of generate. There's obviously a nice flat area where you can kind of land your lander. And we've got a little ship. Now, one of the things we were able to do in this one that makes it's a little simpler because we're actually able to kind of lean on the fact we already have the turtle. It already pretty much looks like a lem. so we use that to actually kind of be the player in this case. So again. Yeah. You must first generate the moon. So this is a very simple game. It basically uses paddle control, but basically you can kind of alter the amount of thrust you have. And you can see we're getting a reasonable frame rate for the Apple II, but in part that's also because the turtle itself is the ship, and we kind of use that video inversion trick where we kind of do an exclusive OR with the pixels, at least Apple Logo does for the turtle. That's why it kind of moves so smoothly. And so we were able to leverage that. And while I'm talking, I think I'm going to plunge to my doom.
Yeah, I think you're going to crash. That's okay.
Yeah, unsafe descent. So this one actually didn't need too much help. There was some general stuff because we're doing a lot of calculations and we're doing stuff like force calculations, that kind of stuff. We kind of calculate anything. Yep. Sure thing. Oh. Hang on. Hang on. Yeah. I'm not on my usual keyboard. I don't think I can bring up the whole workspace in this editor. Actually. Okay. Yeah. Essentially, though, the key thing that we're doing is what can be calculated up front should be calculated up front. Also, we try to keep the run loop very tight. The main thing in this one that's moving is just the turtle. So we're able to kind of get a fairly high frame rate. But then that begs the question, what if you've got a 2-player game?
Well, let's
so let's look at another project that I did, which was actually Space War. So this was another one that we did for Paleotronic. And so this one is a lot more complex. It was kind of a tribute to Space War on the PDP-8. So I'm just going to load this. And there is a lot more code. You'll actually see it with all the stuff being defined in here. We've essentially got, I'll just talk to it while it's loading. We've essentially got 2 players. We've got a central kind of source of gravity in this that's got the star. We've also got the ability to kind of fire missiles at each other. So there's a lot of moving parts. And this one, within the kind of the bounds and limitations of Logo, kind of requires us to redraw most of those things per frame.
How do you optimize that?
Yeah. So in the case of optimizations, key ones are really with this math. I mean, we could have a complete gravitational simulation, and we could go into all this kind of detail, but the 6502 isn't really going to kind of cut it with that. So where we can kind of simplify the math down, approximations are better than perfection, when perfection means it won't run quickly. The other thing is trying to avoid running kind of extraneous logic and evaluations that you don't need to run. And I will actually call out in this particular game, and I was looking at the code prior to this talk, there is an area for optimization because I've got some stuff that reads keys, and so it's doing a bunch of ifs to check the key codes. And what it needs to do actually is call stop. If it finds the true condition, call stop and fall out. At the moment, it doesn't. So it is going through about 10 different key checks. So that's another thing I could do. But even with all that, we'll see that it is quite slow once it loads. And yep.
Just turn it on more.
Yeah, that's true.
You can accelerate the loading.
That's true.
Well, it's accelerating it as much as it can with Zoom going as well. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zoom's a bit of a... Oh.
Okay.
All right. So I'm actually going to kind of turn walk off for a second and just run it, because I just want to kind of show... so this one was interesting because I think if I remember rightly, I set it so you could set a timer or how many moves that it started with. And so, okay, you can see we've got player 1, player 2, and you'll see the frame refresh there. It's not amazing. So we do have like the ability to kind of control. I'm the purple thing on the right. It's really hard to tell, but I'm increasing my thrust so you can kind of see that trail that's coming out from there. And so it's not great in terms of speed. It is doing a lot of math as much as it's been simplified down. So yeah, this is where the acceleration comes in. Yeah, unfortunately, Zoom is kind of chew a lot of CPU on my system at the moment. So without Zoom running, this is actually a decently appreciable frame rate. But it starts to become a little more useful. Yeah, because I think we're only getting maybe 2.5 to 3 times speed out of this with Zoom running, unfortunately, not the full 8 times. So in terms of acceleration, though, of course, this is not just applicable to Logo. This could be applied to AppleSoft as well. The other thing, of course, is if you're lucky enough to actually have a physical Apple IIe with a zip chip, then this is something you can quite happily do yourself as well, because I think that goes up to 16 megahertz, if I recall.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
So one of the things I would like to do is kind of do some kind of more optimizations on this, because this was written a couple of years ago, and I'd kind of come to it almost from a place of naivety. I have kind of done a few passes of optimization, but yeah, like I said, there's some kind of quick wins we can have. The other thing I didn't think of at the time was we could actually use the turtle to represent the star, because that's one less thing that we could draw.
Yeah.
So normally this would actually run at quite a appreciable clip. So I'm kind of a little bit disappointed it's not running as quickly with Zoom running. So
Yeah, that's okay.
yeah.
We got a couple minutes left. We've got, what time is it?
It's 7:27.
Okay, so just a couple of things we wanted to show too. So one of the things we've been working on recently is a web-based AppleSoft basic editor. So you might want to just shut down my domain.
Yep. Yep. Put it on the screen.
Yeah, and so it's an emulator that works with the editor to inject and synchronize the code that's in it. So can we open something maybe? And so there's a fairly large collection of AppleSoft basic programs that we've extracted from a number of sources just to provide lots of examples. So you load it in, and then on the editor on the left-hand side, we've made it so that it separates out all of the colons on the can you scroll down? Thanks. So it separates out the colons onto separate lines so that it makes it easier to edit them and that sort of thing. And so then, when you've got, and so then you can just run the code in the emulator. So, back to the previous point, we haven't quite gotten to the point of putting, accelerated speed into this yet, but it's sort of next up on the list. So, you can write stuff in AppleSoft Basic, and then if you need to accelerate it to speed it up to make it more playable, because AppleSoft isn't the fastest thing in the world, then one can do that too. And the last thing to look at is just turtle faces, because I just want to show off. So this is our logo, more modern logo platform. It's still based on Apple Logo 2, so Apple Logo 2 based stuff works in it, but could we fund that? Thanks. But we've obviously expanded upon Apple Logo 2 ad nauseum. So we're to the point where you can create a game that has 3D terrain in this particular case with a plane, and you fly around and you pop the balloons and the turtle is a plane, and the feedback we've got from kids that are using the platform, to learn logo is that they're, pretty excited by this sort of thing. So hopefully we'll keep getting more kids interested in logo. All right. Well, I guess that pretty much wraps up our time.
Yep.
For the day.
I'm just going to bring up the chat.
That's fine. Scary computer. Not here.
That's excellent.
It's not an Apple, but I like it. It's very aesthetically pleasing. So,
okay, thanks. I think we're out of time, but thank you for presenting that. There's a channel in the Discord that the conversation can continue in.
Yeah, there's a local channel. All right,
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.